Here we are, 11 Fates, an original 5e D&D adventure that we've been working on and we love to share with you. Get caught up with our podcast if you're behind. But if just as a reminder for last week, here we go with the recap. So, Cass signed a contract, entering him into a strange duel format with Brutus, the tall bald man that's been tailing the party. Unto Jewel, also known as HJ, found out some interesting details about G's reputation. Could he be a deranged and brutal killer the bar rumors suggest? Everyone found out about a sobbing Lara Lloyd. Her daughter is deathly ill and only has days left to live. She found that out through the post one morning. Between Kas and Rowena's experience, there may be hope. Bloodberries could act as a cure, but they're only found at a place called Griffon's Roost and is roughly 24 hours worth of riding away if they don't stop for sleep. So the party heads to Aria, where Lara's father, Butch, is taking care of Lara's daughter, Mackenzie, aka Mac. They find out she was bitten last night, leaving only 2.5 days before the immeasurable pain and torture sets in from this strange illness. They're also given a lead. Dusty Broven, a love-struck youth, works at an oddity shop and fled town yesterday. So off the group goes, after Dusty, into the Troll Hills, an area outside of town where madness-stricken trolls run wild. They encounter a single troll and fell it quite easily. They deduce correctly that these trolls were under the effect of the same illness affecting Mackenzie and only wished for the sweet, sweet release of death. Next, the group discovered Dusty holding a sword atop a hill surrounded by troll corpses. It was a shocking event for young Dusty, and he would reveal he has the bloodberries, but can no longer give them up. The troll's blood and their taint seeped into poor Dusty's cut on his shoulder, and now he is also infected. There was only enough dose for one person, and a strange dwarf man in traveling cloaks gave it to him. Oh, so the party decided to check their jewelry, a gift from G, their only dwarf friend, and they were back up to 7 bright white pearls around their wrists. That's the abbreviated recap from last week. Anything I missed? Anything you guys want to drive home, friends?
Did we talk about how the way in which Dusty killed all those trolls? He's very, very heroic.
Standing there with a sword while they impaled themselves. We were fighting about this earlier.
I believe it came up that Dusty said that the trolls just kept impaling themselves on his sword. I mean, you can inquire more about it when you get to talk to him soon. But yeah, no, they wanted nothing from him, but found a sword that they could ram themselves onto. But yeah, that's the recap. Here we are, our brave adventurers. I think we're ready to kick off. So welcome to 11 Fates.
But if I'm going to bargain, I'll take their lies and their secrets down with me.
A chosen champion of the gods.
Better remember the name Hunted Jewel, because the next time you see me, I'm going to be buying out the whole bar. Welcome to the Tale of 11 Fates.
Welcome back. Last we left our group of ragtag adventurers thrown together, but also trying to do some good in this crazy world. They were in the Troll Hills, just west of Aria, a small town at the crossroads. They were helping the Lloyd family as the eldest granddaughter had fallen ill. Well, they went after their lead and they found him. A young Dusty, 14, maybe 15 years old, covered in the gore of about a dozen trolls who impaled themselves on his sword that was recently released from his grasp. We find our adventurers on the hill, trying to figure out what to do next. They're all a little dumbfounded by the sight they see around their wrists. Just a day ago, they were given a pearl bracelet. And that same day, one of the bright white pearls turned black. And just now, when they bothered to look, 7 white pearls again. It's a strange sight, but even stranger is a boy just took down 13 trolls that a town's militia wasn't willing to even engage with. There's a poison in the town affecting 2 young youths now. Dusty before them, as well as the young Mackenzie Lloyd. I believe, Rowena, you just got the sword out of Dusty's hands.
Yeah. I think I've taken it from him. And I'm gonna sort of just kind of take it and kind of toss it behind me onto the ground. Out of his reach. And just sort of still kind of there and kind of offering the hand or the arm for almost like a hug if he wants it, but not trying to startle him or get too close because he's very on edge.
He just slumps backwards and sits on his butt and kind of holds his hands on his face and props his elbows on his knees and is just cradling his head. He's just, I don't want to go back. This wasn't the plan. I don't know how it got like this.
Sherilyn, you can't just stay here. It's not safe, and your parents are very worried about you.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Look,
What would you do?
She pauses for a moment at that and then kind of puts her thoughts together and says, look, a lot of times we make mistakes, right? Things get out of hand, things don't go the way they were supposed to. But we can't just run and hide from mistakes. We've got to try to set things right now. You don't want anything to happen to Mackenzie, do you? You care for her?
Yeah, she's kind of great.
She is. And you know what would make you kind of great? Is to try to make up for what you've done. Help us get her better. Help us get you better.
Can you actually get me better? I don't know where to find these.
It's all right. We know. We'll help you go find more. But Mac doesn't have a lot of time. So right now we need to go back, give what you've got to her.
That's a good
Then we'll
point.
find some for you. Right?
She's like down kind of in the squat in front of him, getting on his level.
He just kind of looks up to the 2 of you. They're HJ and Cass. Do you even think they'll let me back into town? Didn't they send you after me?
Cass rolls his eyes and just like is very obviously not interested in like the kindness that Rowena is offering right now. He's just like, dude, we don't have time. You know, I think his face just says, we don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Get the berries, get them to the girl, and let's go. If we want to save both of these kids.
HJ has more like a softened look, and as Cass is given the scolding, HJ will kind of go down and put his arm kind of underneath Dusty's like arm and kind of like hoist him up a little bit. Look, we all fuck up sometimes. I fuck up like every single day, just as these guys. But the one thing that we can do is that we have the power to make things right, especially now. So get up. We're going to get those bloodberries, bring them back, and we're going to fix both of you. Not just Mac, you too.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this... We can do this. Probably.
All right. But you know what the first thing you got to do is?
Yeah.
Clean your sword.
Oh.
And Rowena will walk over, pick up the sword, and like hilt hand it to him.
It's bad for the metal if you let it corrode. You got to clean it off after every fight. Promise me that, all right?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. And he taps it on his boot, and the entire sword just vibrates a little bit and is then clean.
A handy trick. You'll have to teach me that one.
It's the sword. It isn't really me. It was... No one's been able to afford it, so I kind of took it from the shop just in case.
Better to be safe than sorry. All right, come on, let's go.
After you. And he lets you take him back to town. It probably took you about 2 hours heading out here, actually following tracks and being somewhat cautious to prevent an ambush. But if you book it, you can get over these hills probably in about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to optimize the
moving
time.
fast.
Yeah, I think we're moving fast, yeah.
Let me update some timers real quick.
Oh, hate that.
We knew we were on a
Fine.
countdown.
What's the worst that can happen?
2 dead teenagers is the worst that could happen.
Yeah. Forgot about that part.
No. There's an actual answer to that question.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yes. So it takes you just under an hour to get back to town. And as you come in, you can see the silhouette of the four of you kind of on the ridge. It's about 2 or 3 now in the afternoon. Sun's a little bit behind you. It's pretty cloudy off to the west, but the clouds haven't quite swallowed the sun yet. And as you crest the hill, there's definitely a bit more of a commotion. A couple people go in, knock on doors. You can see in the distance the Lloyds are brought about. You can see the couple of militia bringing over Dusty's parents as well. So when you actually get to the edge of town, there's already kind of a semicircle formed for you, and about 45 people here.
Where's Mac? Dusty's got something for her.
And they clear a little bit, and towards the center of the arc is Butch, Lara, and Mac. A couple of militia men are still with them, but the 3 of them, the Lloyds, step on up into the semicircle.
And I kind of just like push Dusty in the small of his back. Look, just... You got this.
He'll take some deep breaths, and then he ends up holding his breath as he starts to walk forward. Most of the troll blood is either fallen off or encrusted on what he has, but he reaches into kind of his breast pocket and does pull out just a small bag, little pouch. Something that we would put our dice in, but they would put, a potent herb in. And Mac grabs for it quite quickly. And Lara, at the same time, just steps forward and just slaps him across the face with all her might.
Rowena will immediately step between them and just kind of put her hand up.
And Butch is just going to kind of get a hand kind of around both of their waists and kind of pull them back. So now what? And just a whole bunch of stirring comes up. Just various people around the city. You've got militiamen saying, let's hang him up and put him in the stocks. And they're like, it's just a boy. And just all these sorts of rabble and idea being thrown about, as you can see Laura and Mac opening up the little pouch, and they pull out a bloodberry, something that many of you have heard about or read about, but haven't actually quite seen. It's kind of like 3 orbs mashed together vertically all on top of each other, almost like if the peas in a sweet pea pod were to fuse without an actual pod around them, and they've got kind of like a strawberry stem at the top. It's almost like a snowman of berries with a little strawberry hat. And Laura kind of gets Mac to eat it, and as soon as she does pop it into her mouth, you can see the veins on her start to regress.
I think Rowena, as like the stirring is happening, as soon as she sees that Mac is starting to recover, like that instantaneously, is going to just fully draw her sword and like bash it against her shield, like just the full on like get the noise, like the noise, get the attention.
Clang, clang. Yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly quiets people down, and a couple of the more ruckusy people are silenced when Butch raises his hand in the air.
All right. Mistress Lloyd is on her way to recovery. And we've got further business to deal with, but none of it needs to involve any of you. So, rejoice in the safety of your community, and go home.
Safety? A crime was committed here. You don't just have someone poison someone and they walk away scot-free. What are we going to do about this? What's to stop him from doing it again?
I don't think he'll be doing anything like this again. He's going to suffer quite enough for his actions.
Well, yeah, what's that supposed to mean? Clearly he's just a dumb kid. You think he's going to get any smarter from this?
Rowena is going to turn to Dusty and just be like, Darlin, would you mind pulling your shirt collar down for the people?
He's crying a bit, but happily obliges to just get a fistful of shirt and pull it off to the side. And what you saw is already maybe about half an inch bigger, of just a palm size spread out of these radiant purple spider veins that are now across his shoulder and kind of the front of his chest. And there's definitely a gasp from various parts of the crowd. You can see his mom faint off to the side and gets caught by his dad. A couple people in the back are like, serves him right.
I hope you remember that you said that the next time you make an honest mistake and people want you to suffer on account of it.
Butch also steps up and says, she's right. You all said so yourself. You wouldn't wish the soul slink on anyone, not even your worst enemies. Well, this isn't your enemy. Dusty is a member of our community. Yes, he did something wrong, but he can't do right by it if he doesn't get the chance to. If Dusty dies, so does any lesson go with him. Look, you were willing to help out my granddaughter. It sounds like you're willing to help out him.
Children shouldn't be punished for mistakes. Learn from them, yes. Punished, no.
Couldn't agree more. Laura chimes in. Fine, take him with you. He tried to take a shortcut with getting Mac to fall in love with him, try to be a hero, have some sort of complex. Well, there's no shortcuts in life. Make him go pick his own berries. And then Mac kind of just shoots up. She's like, no. Make him stay here. Make him wait in town. Let everyone just look at him with that lack of hope. I'll recover from my sleep and maybe even trust boys again, but I will never lose this feeling of helplessness. Get some more chatter out of the crowd, and eventually Dusty's parents speak up and they're like, look, please do what you can to save our boy. We agree there's got to be some sort of justice for his actions. But I don't want our baby to die.
We're gonna do what we can.
Thank you.
What matters now is that we have to cure this thing, and then we can figure out punishments or whatever afterwards, after the threat of death is gone. Come on. How long does it take to get to what's the place that grows the bloodberries? Griffon's Roost.
Griffon's Roost.
How-
We can get there in a day if we ride all the way through. Not going to be a fun ride.
You could probably get there in 18, 20 hours.
Look, I'm turning to Mac when I say this. Look, I want to see him suffer as much as the next person, but we can't leave him. 72 hours, we got to get it as fast as possible.
You guys gonna take me with you?
If your parents will let us.
Yeah, and they kind of rug, do what you need to. And like the mom kind of comes up and like straightens them up a little bit. She actually goes through her little goods and pulls out a just not quite a feather duster. It's more of like a feather duster, but only with one feather on it, and kind of just boops him on the nose, and he gets all nice and cleaned up. Just from his face down, all of the gore and gook kind of go away. She slides it back in, pinches his cheeks a little bit. Do what you can to make this right, or no supper for you, young man. She's like trying to hold back tears and like goes back. Yeah, I'll go. I caused a lot of this stuff. I should help where I can, I guess.
I want to go to Dusty's father and kind of pull him aside a little bit.
Sure.
Tell me about the sword that your boy has.
Didn't get a chance to do the inventory. It's been with my family about 8 or 9 years. Adventurer retired with it, has some small magical properties. My understanding is it helps in combat, maintains itself. Pretty handy for a seasoned adventurer. Tell you what, you get my boy back here alive, it's yours.
Not asking for any rewards, I just want to know what we're dealing with here. It's a lot more magic than I've seen around in a while.
Yeah. We trade in oddities, and sometimes that's magical.
Of course.
We honestly don't see many either. It's usually just 1 or 2 things we sit on for a long enough time. We sell one, we're usually good for 3 or 4 years.
Understandable. Right. Well, time's a wasting. Got to be going. Is there anyone here who will loan us another horse? In the name of the goddess of light.
Everyone definitely like looks around at each other.
Cass removes his cloak, his green and purple cloak, and wraps it around Dusty and throws the hood up, ties it, around the neck. And and like, even though you just saw it on me and it was like the perfect length and everything, the second it's on him, it's the perfect length for him. But the tapestry and
Ooh.
details are still perfectly in scale and everything. And I I wrap it around him, and very quietly I put my hand on his head and I just go, "The boy will ride with me." And then I'll turn and look at Dusty and I'll say, "And he'll do everything I say."
Yes, sir.
And I just walk him out of the room, or walk him out of the square.
Got it.
Towards the horses.
Yeah, the kind of a path will clear for you. People start talking and whispering amongst themselves. The Lloyds will follow with you for a short while, and the two women will actually just break off at some point. But Butch will walk you over to the horses. I appreciate your efforts. I really do, and I do mean it, Dusty. You are a member of our community. You haven't been here long, but we'd like to keep you around. You actually have hell of a tab to work off, so you better get back here quick. And he gets a little bit of a chuckle as he like pokes a finger into his ribs as well. If you need anything though, let me know.
Thanks, Master Lloyd.
Take care of your family.
Will do. I knew you three would get up to some pretty interesting things. Godspeed. And we'll help the boy up onto the horse before y'all can set out west to make your way towards Griffon's Roost. You can follow the main road up to the outside of Bestellin, and then there's a side road you can actually take northbound, kind of around the city. This might have been the old roads that were once around when traffic in and out of Griffon's Roost wasn't unheard of. But you can make your way off. Anything you'd like to do before heading out of town?
I think we're pretty hurried on this one, so we're just
We grabbed
Just-
supplies before we left
Yeah.
daybreak. I think we're just booking it.
Yeah, it's about 2 or 3 in the afternoon right now. You've all been up since about 6. It's you got another 18, maybe 17 hours ahead of you at this pace. Your horses did get a bit of a rest, which is nice for them. But off we ride quite quickly. The roads seem favorable today. They move along at that fast clip that the roads tend to do. One of those blessings of the gods that travel goes a bit faster in a stranger conundrum, more than just a smooth road could provide. It's about 17 hours riding. Can I get a con save from all of you to see if you get a point of exhaustion as you force yourselves awake? Keep on riding. Ride out that Lloyd coffee he probably insisted you take on the way out.
on save.
Con saving throw.
14 for HJ.
Great.
9.
Dirty 20 for Rowena.
Back to the dirty 20s.
Back to dirty, huh?
Well, now I'm going to switch back again because y'all made a thing out of it. I was going to give you one, but not anymore.
That was the one. It's over.
Yeah,
You gave
that
us
was-
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one is ours.
You burned it.
So you all ride pretty well, but this kid on the back of your horse, actually, is he on the back or is he on the front side of you?
He's probably on the front side of me.
Yeah, he is not comfortable in a saddle, and it is very obvious very quickly into this trip. And so you find yourself constantly having to make sure he doesn't fall out of the seat. he gets repositioned, he starts bouncing around, he's not doing it, so you edge him along, and it is just exhausting and wears a bit thin on your impatience. You're going to take a level of exhaustion before you arrive.
Where is that
in D&D Beyond, it should be near your hit points.
It's
Under
conditions,
which is right under your HP.
There it is.
If you're in the desktop. I assume you are.
And I believe at the first level of exhaustion, you have... I don't even remember. I started
Disadvantage on ability
Disadvantage
checks.
ability checks.
There it is.
Don't worry, I know all about exhaustion from lack of sleep. That is every week on Frostmaiden.
Whee!
You're like, I haven't slept in 4 weeks.
Kind of.
Also, my player has exhaustion.
Mood. As we make our way and we're like into the teens of hours, if I start to notice that Dusty and Cass are not looking great, I will sort of drop back next to them and check in, just be like, do we think we need to do a stopover?
Cass probably looks kind of towards, because it's what time would you say it is now?
Let's call this about 8 o'clock at night. You actually have a nice full moon behind you. The sun set maybe an hour ago.
Cass probably looks up towards the moon and turns and looks at Rowena and actually he'll probably just investigate Dusty's face, kind of like give him a, like just from around the shoulder, like a, hey, are you still good? Are you, and then probably look over Rowena and just shake his head and keep writing.
He, when you do check in on Dusty, you can start seeing some of the webbing start to get out from under his collar, so you can start seeing that purple glow of webbing just like kind of the collar of his shirt, just poking out just a little bit.
As we get closer to Bestellan, however you want to handle this, but I am going to be much more actively on alert and essentially doing perception checks to see if anybody's coming from that direction and that we're running into, things like that.
Go ahead and give me a perception check.
What is my perception on this character? That is a 17.
A 17.
Yeah.
As you come to Bestellan, you can recall from your travels in and out of the area, there were watchtowers kind of like towards the outskirts, and it was really just a matter of seeing if there were travelers taking this weird side road, just because then that means they want to try and get probably to the north side of the city. So it's just one of those things the guards keep track of, but they're not stopping anyone. It's like, hey, if you want to travel that way, go for it. You've heard some of the local rumors of here. No one really wants to be out on that road anyway, so they're not going to put guards there. The few times they have, people tend to cut shifts. So they're like, hey, I'm going to just assign you to somewhere you'll actually go. So as you do get towards kind of that fork, or you can take this more direct route towards Griffon's Roost, you clock the tower, you clock a guard in it, you clock a guard at the bottom. One kind of waves their hand, like waves you along down the road, and then sees you turn, and his hand starts going the other way, and be like, be damned with you. Just
have fun.
Yeah, nope, keep going. Keep it going. Nothing to do with you. So there's about that, and you kind of wipe your brow and take a peek up, and with a 17, the other thing you notice is actually, it's weird to say, but up in the sky, you can see the silhouette of the bottom of a ship. It's gotta be 2-3 miles in the air. Like it's small, but it has that kind of a teardrop-ish shape little squatty teardrop that kind of ends into a point. You swear the tip of it's red. Just like where it goes up into the bow. It's
I
just
don't like
right above
that.
you, and it's pointed about north by northwest.
Does it appear to be in motion or just
Eh,
hovering?
As you look at it for a little bit, it's far away, but it does seem to be moving. It's definitely not stationary. It almost looks like it's running away from the clouds.
Cool. I'm just gonna make note of that and deal with that later. But now that I'm aware, kind of keep it, glance up occasionally, kind of try to keep track of it.
Both of you can kind of see Rowena in the front as you take this turn. Her stride slows for a little bit as she's almost staring straight up for a little longer than you would expect someone who's on alert and watch. I mean, she's up in the front. Of course, she's taking watch, and you both kind of look up, and yeah, you can see a silhouette of the bottom side of a ship.
Have I ever heard of airships before?
Not specifically airships. The idea of an airship is definitely like a rumor and kind of a fantasy.
Mhm.
Go ahead and give me a knowledge roll. So just an intelligence roll.
That's a nat 1. Very fitting.
Dope.
Fuck
Yeah,
this
you you're like, no, that's probably an optical illusion. You've definitely heard of when ships are out on like a real clear glass sea, it almost looks like they're flying. Like you can't really tell that the water's there. That's like your brain's like small process, and you're like, oh yeah, if there's a ship up there,
and
it's an optical illusion.
I kind of
It just looks like there's a ship up there.
I
There's
look up,
no
kind
way
of,
there's a ship up there.
shake my head and just mutter under my breath. I guess I got secondhand high off that bloodberry. Fuck.
Hey, getting that nat 1 out early, so
Oh.
good call. Yeah. Cass, you see the perfect outline of a ship. It's moving quite.
Oh, I thought I missed it. Sorry.
Oh no, yeah,
Hello.
you clocked Rowena staring up a little bit too long, and once you actually take a look up, there aren't many things in the sky. To your left is some quickly moving cloud cover coming in. To your right is the moon, a little bit above the horizon, and then the other thing in the sky. Stars haven't quite come out yet. It's kind of just a ship in the air, and you swear it has a little bit of a red tip towards the front.
Excuse me 1 second while I look over some notes.
Sure thing. There are times like this that I also remember you're all martial classes and have almost no knowledge skills.
Yeah.
Is there tree coverage on either side of the road?
Not yet. You can definitely see some tree coverage coming up. It would be on your right on kind of this new path that you're on. But yeah, kind of like the start of the woody area on the outskirts of town.
I think that that Cass starts just speeding up a little bit, and just trying to keep moving forward while actively clocking the ship every few minutes as he's rocking down the road with this horse.
Yeah, and that's probably something that pulls you out of your gaze up, Rowena, as you're trying to process this. Is all of a sudden you have the a little tired looking Cass kind of start galloping past you a little bit as you all pick up the pace to maintain just a little bit faster. The horses seem to be able to take it, but they're also getting a bit worn down. As I realize there are technically 3 other travelers with you, so I should roll for them.
They're fine.
They are fine. They're horses. They have great constitution. It's like what they're there for.
I almost asked if I should roll for my horse, and I then didn't think of it again. Oops.
You're fine. But yeah, you keep making your way, and you do get to that cloud, that canopy, about 5-10 minutes into your ride after spotting it, and from there you do kind of lose track of it, as also the clouds seem to have caught up with the ship a bit. But as you make your way through this pretty straight and narrow road, it doesn't seem very traveled. It's got some overgrowth to it. You eventually make your way at about that 17.5-hour mark of full travel now, which is going to be putting you at, oh god, what would that be? I can do math on a 24-hour clock that totally works. It's probably
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, because it was.
Are we
8,
counting from when we
'cause
left
it was-
daybreak, or are we
it
counting
was.
from when we
It was
left?
8 p.m. when we left Aria.
It was 2
No,
p.m.
it's
when you
2
left
p.m. when we
Aria.
left Aria.
Oh,
So
It was
Oh,
8 p.m.
when
when
I
we got
asked.
to.
So
When I
you would
asked.
actually be hitting, if you do travel all the way through the night, one of you taking a point of exhaustion, you'd be getting there at about 7 a.m. So this is like just after the sun has risen.
well, perfect.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say this was my point of order. Is when we get to that fork at the
Yeah.
edge of Bestellen, which is about the halfway mark or a little past.
A little
That's
past the halfway mark, but you slow down when you're on this other
That's
road.
when I would check in and be like, do we need to stop or are we going to keep going? And if everyone confers to keep going, then we'll keep going. But that's the point
True,
at
true.
which, if we're going to stop. I would ask.
No, we're
Okay,
at time crunch. There's a dying kid on a horse.
great.
Big facts.
Cool. It is now 7 in the morning.
Yeah, it's 7 in the morning. You rode almost an entire day, and that does track for you left, daybreak at about 6:30, 7 in the morning, about 24 hours of travel. Small detour in Aria, and you come up to these real jagged rocks that kind of mark the opening into Griffon's Roost. And where you come out of the tree canopy, and there's high grasses where clearly this is not a well-traveled road. There is still that semblance of a sliver of a dirt path that leads into these big jagged rocks that mark this valley. And the moment you cross that threshold, things get gray. The cloud cover is denser in this area. You can see fog just kind of appearing and drifting out of the ground and dissipating when it gets up. It is eerie, to say the least. It's quiet. There's not much sound. Some of your steps make an echo and others don't. It's definitely something that kind of slows your pace down. And there's a moment where you also get kind of the fog and cloud cover here all kind of swirls at about the right time. And you can see just this remain of a large spire. It's still 60 feet in the air with a jagged gash out of it. And the amount of rubble that's around it, you can only assume that this used to be hundreds of feet tall. You can even see the base of potential roosts where the griffins might have stirred and ruled from at one point. It's off in the distance, maybe a couple of 100 feet, as the fog begins to kind of swirl around again and obscuring your vision. It is a weird fucking place here at the Griffon's Roost. It reeks of death even hundreds of years later. I mean, Griffins fell 800, 900 years ago, based on your basic understanding of history. It's not chilly, but it is certainly eerie. Almost as if the ground itself is weeping these fog clouds out as it stirs around. Dusty definitely gets the big chill all the way up and down his spine. So, this is Griffon's Roost, huh? Where do we go now?
Dusty, did the person that you got the bloodberry from talk about Griffin's Roost at all? Maybe they said an area. Anything?
He mentioned rubble. The berries grow from the rubble of an age gone by. Maybe we got to get a bit closer to that tower that we saw.
That's as good a starting point as any. What do you think, guys?
I think we shouldn't be here any longer than we have to be. So let's go.
Okay. I had an idea, but I'm choosing not to go with it for now.
Nice.
Cass is okay.
Okay. And he trot on in. There's not really a semblance of a road anymore. There's bricks here and there. There's not really plant life. There's the remnants of plant life. It's hard to say. You kind of see your horse stomp on what looks like a weed, and it kind of just fades off into ash, coats the ground somewhere else in a stranger pile. Seems like the things that used to be living here either became petrified or stopped in time almost. As you get through these bit of an area, you can start hearing these far off whistling noises. Not loud or fast, but definitely a real faint, real soft at first. And just seeing through the shadows, or through the fog, you can see one kind of bounding towards you, of this small figure of a child, just kind of bounding. And as you see it land, the whistling stops, and then it jumps through the air and sails about 30 feet closer to you on the up arc, and then on the down arc. Kind of just lands about 40 feet in front of all of you. It's not a child. It is literally just a shadow. It's just two-dimensional, but clearly is moving its head back and forth with a childlike curiosity. But you can see the silhouette of it is more muscular than that, almost like a small man. And then it's going to get all crouched in a pretty hostile position. And you're all going to roll initiative.
Didn't see this one coming. At all. Okay.
It's a creepy, weird fog.
I told you we
kid.
shouldn't be
There's
here.
only one of them. You're fine.
Okay. I finally rolled double digits, I think, for the first time in over 2 weeks.
That is patently untrue.
What do you mean?
You rolled double digits on both your kill shots, I know, because I've been tracking our dice rolls when I edit.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
You jerk.
Look, I just forget about my good rolls, and I only remember my bad ones.
I am aware.
Weren't you the first person to crit in this campaign, too?
Yes, I believe you were.
Wow. Oh, the mighty do fall.
Technically, he's been the first person to crit in both directions.
Oh,
Boom, see?
yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. Okay, there it is.
Situation there.
Oh, a -1 to their initiative. That's fun.
Huh, get wrecked.
That's probably Dusty. He's very tired.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting about this kid. He deserves an initiative, and he is tired, so he's going real low.
I mean,
anyone get above a 15?
Me, I did.
What'd you get there, Jules?
I have a 19.
Ooh, very nice. You'll get to go first. Isn't that exciting?
That's so exciting.
That brings us up to anyone between 10 and 15.
I got an 11.
An 11 for Rowena. And what'd you get there, Cass?
Got a 4.
Ooh, you get to go after the kid.
Good.
He's
Assess his
exhausted.
weaknesses and exploit them. No, the
Yeah,
shadow
both
kid.
of them are exhausted.
Yeah.
The Shadow Kid, not
No,
the
no,
kid. Not
no.
Dusty.
The kid goes on a 6. No, we kick this off with the one, the only, hunted jewel or tabaxi monk, as this shade is now sailing through the air at your compatriots. You're all on horseback at the moment, so you have the high ground, which is a huge plus.
Yeah.
He jumps.
Yeah. Hunted Jewel kind of looks up and sees where this thing is jumping, and then looks down at his horse. Is like, yeah, the saddle's actually pretty flat, and is gonna like get up on it almost like he's surfing the horse, and he's gonna jump and try and meet this shadow in midair, claws out, just trying to swipe through it.
That Wolverine leap from every preview you've seen of every X-Men movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, you get your horse to help get you that way. You can't jump the full 20 feet there, but you do time it pretty well. Give me an athletics roll. Let's see how well you get this timing down.
would love to. That is a 22.
Dude,
Let's
that is
fucking go.
rad. Your attack, I'm gonna give it advantage.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome! That is a non-spicy 20.
Non-spicy 20 will hit. Like a mild 20.
Yeah, mild 20. That's
That
going to
will
be six points of slashing damage, and then I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, but bonus action time.
Yeah, and should I just keep advantage or just roll it regular?
Keep the advantage. So your first attack, you got your claws, and you're basically able to meet this thing, and you're a little weary. It's basically a 2-dimensional figure, which you've never fought before, but you are able to still make contact with what is kind of a solid force, and you're able to bring both of you down to the ground without huge detriment to both of you, other than slashing through it. But yeah, you get that second attack as you get onto the ground.
And then second swipe is a 13 to hit.
A 13 will hit.
That's going to be 5 points of slashing damage.
Great. And that is enough to actually just rend through it entirely as your claws sink in and rip on through, and it kind of just bursts apart. And you swear you hear a sigh of relief from the shade.
Fucking hate that.
And you're out of combat.
And HJ looks up, wondering why the combat music is still playing in his head, even though he's out of combat, and kind of looks up quizzically.
I see the control. It's fine. Battle music's still highlighted, but you
and
you're going to
looks,
be in initiative order for a bit, while you're in what is
of
known
course.
as one of the most inhospitable areas on this entire continent.
And HJ looks up and just says, "Look, it's not just a shadow. I felt it, and it was almost like it was saying thanks. I really didn't like it."
There's a reason why we tell children that if they misbehave, we'll send them to Griffon's Roost.
Wait, you send your kids here?
No, we absolutely don't. We just try to scare them.
It's good.
You know how?
It's scary. I get it.
Yep. No, we're not anywhere. Cass, you got him, or you want me to take him?
Cass is like very clearly stood in front of the kid. he watched the whole thing with the shade go down, and he's like sitting there, grasping his sword with a hand just on the kid, just in case.
Rowena has like wheeled her horse around and has her shield up on her arm and is like providing cover for you guys in the direction of where the fight was. So,
and so I think that because he's already off the horse, I think Cass just like pulls the kid in close, and really like doesn't pay too much attention to like what the kid is doing, more so that he just doesn't want to let the cloak out of his sight.
True.
And so he like, without saying anything, just waves off Rowena and grabs the reins of the horse and starts walking with the kid kind of leading a step ahead. And starts
Great.
walking toward
Yeah,
the roost.
Let's get to the rubble. Let's get the berry and let's get the fuck out of here.
At this point, Rowena will dismount. She has still been on her horse, and she will follow, but she wants to be on the same level as Dusty.
Great. And yeah, by the reins, you can lead your horses. Weapons at the ready, making your way deeper into the Griffin's Roost. The fog appears and dissipates consistently, erratically. It's a bit disorienting, but you clocked that vision and are able to kind of make your way towards a looming shadow of the spire. Can I get a perception roll from all of you?
I'm weary every time you say shadow now. And looming in the same sentence. Come on.
I told you it was like 60 feet of rubble. It's fine. It's a spire. What else is it going to do? The sun's just rising. You know? Shadows and lights.
13.
13.
I got an 8.
An 8.
I got a desirable 20.
Ooh. Hello, 20.
Is that a 20 on the die? I just don't know anymore.
If I don't say natural, then it was not on the die.
Uh-huh.
Well, but then why is it desirable?
Because it's still a high roll. We've gone over this every week. I don't know what you're not understanding about 20 being a good number, regardless of how you get it.
Apparently quite a lot.
Would you feel better if I rolled higher than a 20? Because that is also an option I have, but I haven't.
You should do that more
yet.
regularly. You break that ceiling. You all notice 2 distinct whistles now. A bit further ahead of you, still in your direction. What HJ and Rowena also notice is you kind of do that double take of sometimes there's an echo, sometimes there's not here, and you get kind of that feeling of like it bouncing behind you. And you do see kind of as the fog clouds kind of pass each other behind you for a brief moment, probably about a 15 or 16 foot tall figure, maybe about 100 yards back. Just a shadowy outline. As you now have 2 spirits whistling from the north side of you as you make your way deeper into Griffin's Roost towards that spire. And on the south side, about 100 yards back, you swear the 2 of you briefly see just maybe upwards of 20 feet tall, a long, slender humanoid figure before the fog gets dense enough behind you to obscure the view.
Rowena wants to get right up next to Cass and Dusty. She's gonna, like, tap Cass's arm and just be like, they're on all sides. And she's gonna essentially flip around and walk backwards, like keeping like maybe like her shield elbow or something in contact with Cass, like almost doing like soldier kind of back to back, so that she can watch the behind while they move forward.
Sure thing.
As long as he will allow her to do that.
Yeah, I think at this point Cass is just poised and ready with his arrow. I think he trusts himself more with his bow and arrow than he does with his sword. So
great. As 2 shades come from the north side, we're going to pick up where we left off with the initiative, and that is going to be Rowena. You now have 2 shades at the northern edge of kind of your group's perimeter. There's 3 of you, so I assume you're in kind of like a triangle formation. If you're on the back side, the other 2 of you in the front, and probably Dusty in the middle. Sounds good for position-wise.
Sure.
Fine with me.
And that will... Sorry, an alarm went off. Yeah. These shades are about 20 feet to your northern edge.
Since my party is facing north and I am facing south back to back with them, I would like to hold my action to take a swing with my sword at the first creature that gets within 5 feet of my party and becomes hostile.
Great. Yeah, you can position yourself a little bit tighter. It's kind of one of those things of like Dusty's almost occupying the same space as you. But yeah, you can definitely get there to where if either of these shades get into melee combat, you'll be able to take a step forward and do a slash out. And that is your turn, or would you like to do anything else?
I believe that is going to be my turn because I'm going to hold that action. I just want to point of order that this is my held action to activate on those conditions, but I do also have a reaction that may activate if something comes to eat, and they're 2 separate
Cool.
things.
Yeah, because one is your entire action, and the other one you still get a reaction.
Yeah.
Cool. And with that, these 2 spirits jump on up in a lower arch of just that whistle. And in unison, one will go for both Jules and one will go for Cass. Which one would you like to attack?
I would like to attack the one that is going after Cass because he's got hands on Dusty.
Great.
Or equivalent.
Something like that.
Yeah. Because he is monitoring the child at the moment.
It's shake and take it.
You did fine with the last one.
Yeah, you've
True.
been hit before.
Yeah.
That was cocked. Oh, well, Brew will be pleased to know that that was a 20 on the die for a 25 to hit.
Hey. Misses.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Yeah. Drive it home. Get that double damage. Let's go. And here, we like to roll our damage because rolling dice is fun.
Oh. That is going to be 15 slashing damage.
Yeah, as this shade, a bit different of a shape, actually. This one is a bit stockier, a little bit whiter on the silhouette of the limbs. As it comes jumping forward, you just get this step slash perfectly timed, like you've rehearsed it maybe 1,000 times before, and there's just that extra oomph. You've been up for 20 hours, and this drives home. And just, you swear as it goes through, this shade just breaks off, evaporates, and you can just hear this.
Oh,
Cass,
yeah.
it's actually right in front of you. You would hear that kind of sigh of relief that comes out of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate this. I hate this a lot.
That will
Sorry, am
also.
I still getting attacked?
Yeah, you are still going to attack. I had to
Okay.
remember what I was doing in my brain because sometimes there's a lot going on. I'm like, what's the kid gonna do?
Well, it doesn't help when I ruin your turn order by holding an action.
It's all right, and you still have a reaction apparently. So an attack is being made on Hunted Jewel. I'm not sure what your triggering thing is. So I'm going to just break it down by tiny steps.
I am not going to impose my reaction for this turn.
Cool. Does a 7 hit you, Jules?
It does not. Coincidentally.
Sweet. Yeah, this shade didn't get the jump fully towards you, and so it comes slashing down almost at your knees, and you're able to kind of just take that quick hop step back, so you're ready to kind of just come down on it. But it is going to bring up Dusty, who is going to have kind of a panicked stab from out behind Cass to try and do his own part, and with a 10 is actually going to make contact with this shade.
It's a
Let's go,
perfect
Dusty.
phalanx.
He does max damage to this thing. want to give it to him, but he's shy. Yeah, he just Dusty rips into this guy, striking real true. Actually, this is a magic weapon. Strikes into him, and just the smallest of hesitation before the spirit just wisps off, and again another just of relief as the second spirit has now vanished. I think that's all of them.
No, there's one more behind.
And as you turn behind, you can clearly see now the steps and swagger of like this large gate coming towards you with no sound, just marching on forward. And that'll bring up Kas. Actually, you have an action if you like in this initiative order.
I will turn and well, okay, here's what I'd like to do is I don't really have the enemy knowledge that the rest of you have, so I'm gonna just take a chance here. And I would like to roll like a nature check to see if maybe these are like some sort of like spirit of something that I've ran into before in the past.
Please do. Yeah, I think nature and tying into spirits, if they've been here long enough, they're almost part of the natural world.
I rolled a 17.
A 17. After seeing these things and how they act, you recall some readings, a lecture, some sort of conversation about these. And they are known as Shades of the Small. It was a strange thing that happened when all the small folk were taken from this world very quickly after in random places of either mass disappearances and or mass grief that was held. Suddenly, entire families disappearing, entire communities disappearing with a blink of an eye. Hours and days after it, these shades essentially started appearing. And the theory is that they're the embodiment of the grief left behind from their sudden departure, or the physical manifestation of how they were snatched from this world. There's been some debate about it, but it all kind of revolves back to when goblins disappeared, when the halflings disappeared, when most of the dwarves disappeared, and when all the halflings disappeared hundreds of years ago. Okay. And with your knowledge of Griffon's Roost too, because you've also gotten that in the past, you're able to kind of connect the dots of being like, oh, this is probably one of the last places these things might actually appear. They've been driven away from everywhere else, but here they might be able to thrive.
Okay. I think even knowing that survival instincts will take over, and Kas will fire an arrow at the spirit, at the shade lumbering towards them.
I guess before you do, just based on your own iteration of your actions, it does cross your mind, these are shades of the small folk. At no point did a giant figure disappear. I mean, this isn't as big as what the giants of the ancients might have been, but a 17, 18 foot tall figure doesn't really fit the description of a shade of the small. Take it with you what you will. Maybe it's just a bunch of them in a trench coat.
Tell me something, but I'm not smart enough to get it.
Maybe it's a bunch of them in a trench coat. Like, I've done crazier things.
Yeah. Actually, well, no, I'm going to commit to the action that I said initially. I will shoot the longbow first, and then if it comes back around to my turn, I will move forward with my other action.
Great.
Oh, and that is a 6.
That arrow goes sailing, and it looks a little high to you, and it doesn't quite get as far as you would want it to be like able to correct, because about 30 feet before it gets to the shadow, you can see very quickly it raise an arm windmill style over its head, and then like a 12-foot long shovel comes out of the fog and just slaps the arrow out of the air, and then just dips the tip of the shovel maybe about 20 feet away from all of you as it walks up. And these gray, long, slender hands rest upon the top of the shovel and just sink it into the ground, maybe 2 or 3 inches. And he just puts his hands on top of his, or he puts his head, his jaw just on top of his hands. And you can see just a gangly, long, gray figure in just this weird traveling coat of all these fabrics. It's a mixture of fine silks. It's also a mixture of like bloody bandages. It's got a lot of like burial robes mixed in with it, and like sacred rite cloths. And it's all just this mishmash of colors and patterns and fabrics that coat this long form body. It's got white, wispy hair that kind of floats through, a smooth gray complexion. And below its nose and down to its jaw is just thick rope tied in and out, going throughout its entire face, back into its lower jaw, like the entire bottom half of the head has been sewn shut. And other than the strangeness of the mouth area, the lower half of the head, it is unmistakably to all of you the god of the grave. You all recognize him as the god of the grave, the final fate that appeared about 60 years ago, not too long ago. You know this is the god of the grave because it is the only one that doesn't really resemble the humanoids you're used to. See, all of the fates took on some sort of embodiment that people would recognize here. The god of light had a very feminine human form. Others are loosely resemble that of an orc or an elf or a half elf, some even a gnome. But this god in particular seemed so foreign when it arrived. It was always the other gods that seemed to talk about the arrival of this one. A bit quiet, smooth face, a young face somehow on this body covered in all of these old, strange cloths that make up kind of almost like a big poncho of all these strange fabrics. And you realize these are all the things that people may or may not have been buried in at some point. Be it the silk of a finely made coffin, a burial robe, a spare cloth after a raid, anything that you could be buried in makes up this garment of the god of the grave. And here it looms, a fate, head on top of hands, on top of shovel. And it's almost like a big circle of clean air is now around all of you. No fog wisping in, a little bit brighter as he just kind of tilts his head back and forth, staring at the 4 of you. Gives a little wave of just a single finger and puts it back underneath his jaw.
HJ kind of like trepidatiously gives it back, just a small little wave with a quizzical look on his face.
You can hear just the faintest of chuckle come from this creature.
Mark, just as like a for the player question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we typically up to this point understand where all of the gods appeared, right?
The origin stories of the gods, yes. It's kind of one of those things that through either schooling, be it an actual institution or anything like that, the story of the gods has, been around, and of when this person or when this fate arrived and kind of emerged, and there's a little bit of a story for like each of them when they do. God of the Grave is probably the most lackluster and
But
memorable.
there's nothing to say that we know where they are, and there's certainly nothing keeping them wherever they arrived, right?
Correct. So they definitely move around. Like a point of order for the festival that you had at the City of Light. The God of Light isn't the one that's guaranteed to come down. It's kind of a celebration in itself of figuring out which god actually comes forward and gives out these duties. Sometimes it's been any of them, really, to appoint people. And from the tales you've heard, God of the Grave has done it before, and he's spoken his commands. It's kind of weird to see a fate with their mouth and just entire lower face tied up in rope. You've heard of, it's pretty reliable that the God of the Forge is at her forge in the city that is kind of named for her.
Okay.
Everyone kind of knows where she is, but other ones, like the city that's associated with the grave and loosely crossroads and paths and kind of journeys, at least a day and a half's ride from here. There's no direct path here. But if it's the God of the Grave, there's clearly lots of unhappy spirits here that may need to be laid to rest. But just be doing his godly duties.
Okay, I think that upon realizing it's the God of the Grave, Cass puts his bow and arrow down and, puts the arrow back in the quiver and, sort of as not to surrender, but almost as to say, like, look, I mean you no harm. He raises his hand and says, God of the Grave. No, actually, he doesn't say that. He just says, we're not here to fight a god today. We seek aid for the boy. And he points to, and actually, I think he pulls the hood off of Dusty.
He spins his body, 2 or 3 degrees, which feels like a lot for this looming of a figure towards you. And he'll pick up the shovel, kind of take 1, 2, 3rd step over all of you. It takes about 2 more, and it's almost like this clear air follows him, where the fog is just kind of around him. And now you're at the edge of kind of this aura that he has about himself, and he reaches out of that aura just a little bit, seems to spread something. The shovel he has clanks on various bits of rubble, and then he pulls the shovel back and gives a bit of a hand wave in the general direction of it. A little bit of a head nod, and he takes another side step to where you're now kind of just outside of his little clear air bubble as kind of the fog washes over you, and he looks again like a big, tall shade. Only about 40, 45 feet away.
Cass turns to Rowena, eyes wide, and sort of gestures Dusty towards her, and like pushes them, sort of gestures them both in the direction towards where he pointed. Meanwhile, he pulls out another quiver just in case something else is lurking around the corner. Like, we, understanding that the god cleared the way a little bit, but that doesn't mean that the danger is gone. He positions himself so that he is now the tail of Rowena HJ. I guess HJ's sort of off to the side, but Rowena HJ Dusty. But
and Rowena has.
You 3 make a line, and you've got your winger essentially of HJ.
Yeah.
And Rowena has never put down her sword and shield this entire time, so she just fully kind of tucks Dusty behind her so that he's got cover from her shield, and she'll start moving forward in the
Right.
direction that was indicated.
Yeah, and you step back into that ring, and it's a little less eerie. You stepping out of the fog seems to be a weird sensation for you, and you can almost see it right where you left it, just filling the silhouette you left behind. And they're now at the other side of the circle, with just kind of a few fingers pointed out towards it as it comes back, and again just rests under the chin of this fate on top of the shovel. You can see back behind him some rubble has been cleared out, and there is just a strange plant kind of spiraling up and in on itself, almost kind of like the twisty bamboo, but just a single vine. And from it, you can see about 3 bloodberries hanging off of it, kind of like wilted fingers, and there they are, ready to be plucked. Maybe about a foot off the ground.
With my sword hand, so sword like still in hand and everything. I will reach back, I will grab kind of Dusty's sleeve, and I will like double time him up. But I am very specifically keeping him, like keeping myself and my shield and everything between him and the god.
Mhm.
And I'm watching the god the whole time. And as we kind of get up to the bush, I will just look and say, "You've done us a service. What service do you ask?"
And just waves his hand off.
Just slow nod. And keep myself posted so that I can provide cover while Dusty hopefully grabs one of these berries and
Eat some
chomps
bloodberry.
it. Yeah.
Like, please.
Yeah, he goes down into the plant, and he has his little short sword now as well, and it basically just cuts off from like more towards the base of the vine, so that way all 3 of them come off. And he eats one of them, and very quickly you can see just that little bit of webbing from on the bottom side of his neck that is now coming up towards his jaw. Very quickly starts to descend and blink on back to where the source of the wound was, and you assume disappear underneath his shirt. And with that, there's a strange hum in the air. And even the fate begins to straighten up and look around a little bit. He does a little bit of a curl of his fingers and begins to like twist his wrist while spinning the fingers, almost like creating a big ball shape in his hand. And the fog around you begin to swirl a bit more. And then suddenly all of the fog just rises up 15, about 20 feet in the air. So it's above the head of the fate. And you can see about 100 yards away, just coming up out of the ground is just this bizarre silhouette of a murky figure of a 3-headed griffin with 12 wings on its back. The fate just kind of sighs, picks the shovel up, and chucks it as hard as it can. And it just pierces straight through the center head as this thing yelps a high-pitched squeal, and then just kind of cascades down and begins to sink back into the ground, and then all of the fog comes settling back in.
Excuse me, your magic, does that happen often?
A big, long nod, and he'll reach out his hand, and the shovel comes flying back ever so quietly, and then just a little bit of a into his hand. Probably came out of the fog, going, God, 3-4 times faster than your horse has ever gone.
Well,
So we're gonna get to going now, right? Is that that's still the plan?
I think perhaps we should.
Fate looks back at you two, not HJ. Eyebrows up.
If you've no further need of us, sir, then we'll be taking our leave.
Slow shake of the head and just a little bit of a shrug.
Your kindness is appreciated.
It's a little hard to tell, but you can swear there's a smile behind all those ropes in the bottom of his face.
Again,
He's
shield is
smizing, got the eye
there we
smile
go.
going on. Yeah.
shield is still up, but the sword has gone kind of just dropped to the side at this point. And I think at this point, again, she'll kind of like reach back and just sort of pat Dusty's arm or something with her sword hand. Just be like, "All right, young'un, let's be getting out of here. Master Didegrove, shall we?"
Cass, still holding, at the reins of his horse now, is like kind of pulling the horse along and puts Dusty onto the horse and then gets onto the horse. And once we're far enough away from the god of the grave,
Mm-hmm.
just goes, oh. And he turns and looks at Rowena and HJ and says, "Say what you will about the gods. If there's one that's here to make sure we're dead, it's him." And starts riding off. Starts just kind of not fast riding, just kind of clopping away, like still laughing to himself about the fact that the one god who is going to be there to bury him, he just met him, and luckily it was not on the day of his death.
Yeah, I think you head off, and I think Rowena has probably gotten her horse, but is just kind of still sitting there, sort of watching the fate. There's that sense of like wanting to ask a question, but not knowing if it's appropriate.
He definitely like turns his head 45 degrees and puts a finger like behind his earlobe and pushes his ear out a little bit.
Don't think you can help me. I appreciate you offering. Maybe some other time. I'm sure our paths will cross again.
Gives a nod, kind of a shrug. Looks over to you, Jules, raises an eyebrow.
And like Jules hears Rowena ask that question. It says, "I don't think you can help," and he kind of gets like a little glint in his eye and kind of like walks up and says, "Well, you may not be able to help her, but there seems to be a lot of cures around here, and you know a lot about death. Apparently, the leader of my clan he's sick. I've been sent out to get a cure. I was gonna take one of the bloodberries back, but maybe someone has told you what's ailing him, and maybe you have a cure. You know where to start. Maybe."
He plants his shovel next to him and then just sits cross-legged, beckons you forward.
And Jules walks forward quickly.
He'll reach out with both of his hands and just have his fingers and thumbs out, and is just gonna very lightly touch his long, gangly gray fingers to your temples. and you're going to feel this warmth behind your eyes. What would you like to show him about your sick elder?
I want to show him, the bed, the face, the way that the elder grabbed my hand and said, "You're one of the 11 that we're sending out to go find a cure." And then like the vision of me kind of leaving, and then also the time when my mom first said that the elder was sick as well.
He takes it all in, takes his fingers off, and you can see just these little motes of light. And with his left hand, he pokes it into the ground and then pulls it up slowly. And there, from the dirt and sand, is a strange, like, vestige of shapes starting to take form. There are these tall, flat rocks, and it's kind of this sweeping landscape. It's almost as if you're watching, your character wouldn't know it, but you would, almost like a hollow vid, like starting to emerge, and things are rendering and disappearing. And it's really just, a cylinder of about 2.5 feet where these shapes are being formed out of these dirts. And you can see just all of these big flat plateaus. And on top of it, eventually you can see this big cactus that has all of these leaves kind of wrapped around it, almost like a ball cactus surrounded in like the bottom half of cabbage leaves. And then swirl of his finger, it cracks open. The juice from inside of that floats up and off and just stays in the top. And then another strange vestige appears of these barnacles on the side of a dock. And then underneath the barnacles, a bit of coral. And when that coral gets plucked, it's just this half of a cactus full of juice and this coral. And some dance music!
Yo, TPK, what's going on, guys? Welcome on in. You made it just in time where we're learning we're learning where the MacGuffins are. At least a few of them. So we can go get them. Welcome on in. If you guys have not gone and followed TPK Roleplay yet, give them a follow. They're awesome. Friend of the channel. Tell us what you guys were playing. Give us what was the silliest thing your characters did this session. But welcome on in, everybody. If you, oh no, it's another one. Let's go.
So much dance. This is what we needed after such a harrowing little ride through the mist.
Yo, Tesla, thank you for the raid. Mr. Saito, 2,000 bits. What?
Ooh.
Mr. Saito, thank you.
Let's go. I'm speechless now. But guys, welcome in. If you haven't followed Tesla to Panda, give her a follow. Big friend of the channel. How was your stream, Tesla? Mr. Saito, thank you again for the 2,000 million bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But guys, if you have not been here before, we are the Torpid Gaming Network. We're a variety channel, and on Tuesdays we stream Dungeons and Dragons, and right now we're doing an original 5e campaign that Bonk is going to tell you about right now.
Yes, it is an original 5e D&D campaign we've put a lot of work into, and we're so excited to present it for you. This is a campaign that revolves around the 11 Fates. They are living gods that walk around among the mortals. Our heroes here were selected to be champions of the god, whatever that means. They get all the free boons of becoming adventurers, and their adventure has taken them to a very creepy, eerie place that has had some strange atrocities happened hundreds of years ago that still affect the land. And you come and join us while one of our players was getting a vision from the god of the grave. about a cure for his sick elder. The entire reason he went out to try to be chosen by the gods, to help find a cure. So welcome. The vision before you, Jules, is of that half of a cactus, still with its juices, the coral from under the barnacle, from the underside of a dock, and it is placed in, you can see it bubbling as it's boiling, as the casing of the cactus turns into a cauldron. And you don't know what color it is, as it's all been translated to you through, just the gray shifting sand presenting it, but you can tell it gets darker. And then that gets poured out into a bottle. And then that solidifies into small rock. A little bit smaller than your palm. If this were a real bottle, it would probably be about 3 ounces that could fit in there. The god of the grave will just kind of take that and pick it up and put it a little forward. And the other finger with the glowing little dot that he got from inside your head, he puts down on his right side and plants it into the ground. And with his hand, he just starts to write. He writes just 3 letters and then underlines it and removes his hand so you can read it. And it just says run.
Like right now?
Jules, you gotta stop with asking the questions. When a god tells you to do something, you gotta do it.
And he just shakes his hand no.
Oh, okay. R-U-N, is that one word? And as Jules is kind of like walking away, like with his head over his shoulder, is that like one word, or is that like 3 words? They just letters.
Picks up his right hand that he wrote with and just mimes just a little person running with his fingers just quickly, and then puts it down on the ground and has it run off to its full reach and then off into some jazz hand, and then brings it back in.
Where?
Puts both of his hands in his lap.
Where should I run to?
Shrugs.
Tall, flat rock, sweeping landscape, cactus juice, coral, boil it, bottle. Okay. Okay, thanks. I'll figure it out. I kind of start just like walking away.
Lumber back up to his feet. Dust himself off a little bit. Pick up the shovel over one shoulder. Raises an eyebrow to you, Rowena.
Oh, she's on her horse. She might even have the reins of Jules' horse at this point, like since she was still hovering here, and she's just kind of sitting there like staring at him. Probably crying, but silently.
He just kind of looks down at his feet and looks back up to you. And just kind of turns on his heel and starts walking away as his shadow then begins lumbering further off north as y'all are now encompassed in the fog. This fog that keeps appearing in thickets and disappearing into wisps, and you can hear off in the distance that strange whistling again.
I think when the whistle comes back in, that's when Rowena kind of like tries to sort of shake herself out of it and just like tosses the reins of his horse to Jules and kicks up Farrier to catch up with Ass.
Sure thing.
HJ hops on the horse and is hot on her tail.
Great. Then yeah, you're making your way out of here quite swiftly. Can I get handle animal checks from all of you to see how quickly you can get out of here? If you're not trained in it, that's just going to be wisdom.
Oh, it's a 5.
Do I get any bonus because it is my horse?
I'll
can
give you
say
advantage.
no,
I'll give you advantage. You've spent a lot of time with this horse, and the reason why it's a handle animal more so than a ride check is your horses are also very uncomfortable as well as very tired. They don't want
No
to
one
be here.
wants to be here.
Yeah.
I got a natureful 20 plus 2.
Hey.
Look at this
A
guy.
natureful 20.
Yeah, all natural, baby.
You said it in such a way that I'm like, wait, is that a crit?
See, Alondra, this is what that's like.
But
I
also,
understood what you meant. I didn't
it's
have a problem with
skill
it.
check, and you don't crit on skills here because if
Yeah, I
you're
know.
smart enough, on a 1 you'll still know stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I got a 13
I mean,
on mine.
technically, I do.
great.
Technically, I still have to do disadvantage because I'm exhausted, right? So really, I got a 16.
Correct. Thank you for that reminder.
I forgot to until I saw word condition laughing at me.
Yeah, as you kind of ride into the fog and the thicket again, it was kind of a slope down, and it was real easy to kind of navigate. You're like, okay, we're getting lower, we're getting towards that spire. And now with this fog and swirling around, it feels like there's a lot of uphill in all directions of you, so it's a bit jarring to keep your horse kind of on the right path. And you realize at some point HJ can be heard a little farther off to your right, but you cannot see him as you've all kind of made your way south-ish. I would say, Cass, you can probably see the opening of clearer skies of the entrance you came in towards the southern point about 10 minutes later. But you can hear Jules maybe 100 feet off to your right. So if you're facing south, that's west. I can do directions quickly. And yeah, you're galloping quite a bit still, Jules. You're just like, oh, I just can't see them because I'm still far behind. Like I gotta
Of
catch up.
course. Oh, 100%.
And Rowena, you can't quite see the entrance, but you can spot Cass.
Okay. Am I able to, like, I'll say triangulate, like I said, like if I spot Cass, but do I also hear Jules? Or hear that there is another horse that is not in line with us?
Yeah, you can hear another horse. It was a horse that you swear was behind you and that you heard the entire time, and you kind of slow down as you see Cass slowing down a little bit. But the other horse, now that you thought was back and to your right, is much more to your right and then a little bit back. And is just still galloping at the full pace that you just came down from.
I will, against my better judgment, shout, Jules!
Can I hear?
Yeah, you can hear it. You get a little bit of that echo of Jules.
Yeah.
Coming from your left, so you've got it, and that comes back, and with that exchange, you can definitely hear the pickup of.
Sweetheart, you gotta come back this way, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just concentrating on just getting out as quick as I can. Yeah, I'll cruise over, and I yoke the horse back over towards Rowena's voice.
Yeah, you do, and you're kind of closing in on that gap, and as you do, you can kind of just see two of those spirits kind of just sail through the air and are now just kind of in the middle point. As you can see at the edge of your view, your two compatriots show up. You have these two spirits that kind of land 20 feet in front of you, Another 20 feet back is your compatriots, and then another 20 feet back, you can see another 2 spirits kind of just sail on in. So we're going to throw ourselves back into that initiative order, because last time we ended perfectly with our group of Kas. So we're going to go back to the top. We got Jules. I'm going to split up the spirits initiative, which will be totally fine.
And there's there's two opposite of the party, or are the two in between the party and me?
Both. So the party is flanked by 2 spirits on one side, 2 spirits on the other, and then you are on the far west side of that. So going west to east would be you, 2 spirits, your 2 compatriots with the ward, and then 2 more spirits, all about 20 feet apart from each point.
Well, then I'm just gonna cruise up. I'm just gonna go towards the ones that are closest to me. Then, and,
get on in there.
Yep, I'm gonna get the horse over there. Probably about like 20 feet away. I'm gonna hop off the horse, just to make sure it doesn't get too scared. And then I'm going to sprint up. Within 30 feet. I want to get within 30 feet of the spirits.
You're already within 30 feet. You're only
Sweet.
20 feet away.
Then I'm just hopping off the horse and I'm jumping up, cat claws bared, and not afraid to use them.
Great. Do you want to do like a flip around them so you're at least on the same side as your party? Great.
Yes. And that's 2 11s to our. That's my 2 attacks.
Those are both going to hit.
Ooh, let's go. So that is going to be a total of 9 slashing damage.
9 slashing damage is just enough to take down one of these shades. So as you kind of do one of those flip step kicks to get yourself up over the small figure, you're able to just take your claws right through what would be the head as it just dissipates down into that mist. And there's another spirit within 5 feet. They're right next to each other. If you'd like to take your bonus action.
Those 2 attacks was my attack and bonus action.
That's right.
Yep.
Level
Together,
1.
Yep.
They were 9 damage. You didn't punch for 9 damage on one.
Correct.
Great. Dope. Did it. I'm tracking along. Fun fact, that's one less baddie for me to keep track of.
Boom. I'm just
The one
trying
that's
to
in your
make
face.
things faster for you.
It's true, but then I've got to talk through it. This other one, though, since it is right in front of you, will
Bring it on.
go ahead and reach out and try to claw at you with an unnatural 20.
Yeah, that'll hit. That'll hit.
Yeah.
That'll hit.
Weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Weird how that works.
That's going to be for... Oh, that's real cockeyed. And did it again. Exact same position. I should just not roll actual dice is what I'm getting at. That is going to be 3 points of necrotic damage.
Ooh,
Great.
zesty.
As this spirit reaches out at you and seems to be doing a similar claw-like attack, but instead of actually piercing your skin or punching at you, the fingertips just kind of go in and then whip out as you can just feel this like energy leave your body a little bit. That muscle very sore now, and it
Hate
does
that.
not feel good.
No.
Heartbeat immediately up, and it is alarming what that sensation was. And that will bring up Rowena.
I can see all of these spirits.
You can. And now that Jules has come closer, you were able to see him kind of flip up over.
Great. I want to wheel my horse, and I want to go to the next one to the other side. Jules is
You
engaged
got
on that
2
side.
on the east, you got 1 on the west with
Right.
Jules.
Yeah, so I want to go to the east. I'll go to the nearest one on that side to me, just like right. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the full like ride by swing.
Great.
I rolled what is my modifier? I should double check that. It's almost certainly going to hit, but I want to confirm.
You've
A
figured out they've
22.
got a low AC. 22 definitely.
Weirdly enough, yeah. 22 to hit for 9 damage.
9
slashing.
damage is enough to take it out. With these heavy-handed hits, that momentum of the horse, you're just able to slink on down and just bring the entire shade up. And as it lifts off the ground, the sword definitely reaps through it.
Great. And since I am on my horse, which has 60 feet of movement, that was about 20. I would like to take whatever of my remaining movement I need to get up to Cass and Dusty, and I want to put myself with my shield between their horse and the other shade. I want to be right next to them, so I'm within 5 feet of them.
Yeah, you would have 40 feet left. You can round, and yeah, you'll be able to get right up next to them.
And just to be perfectly clear, the idea is I want to be clear so that Cass could, like, shoot past me, but that I am presenting a block to give them cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I get what you're going for.
Yeah.
With that, though, in order to get them, you are going to have to turn a bit sharply, and the shade is going to try to jump up at your heels. You've got the high ground, so it's going to be at a disadvantage, but it will try to take an attack of opportunity on you. And is a 15 going to hit?
A 15 will hit me.
Yeah, as you ride by, you can feel just this ache of a pain in your back calf just seep out of all this energy, and your heartbeat begins to race that more, and there's already some sweat immediately forming on your brow from it. Does not feel good as you take 4 points of necrotic damage.
Great. And that will be my turn.
And that is going to bring up this Shade's turn, which is going to jump up into the air and get that whistling flight. It's like bounds and hops. It's not gonna try to like get around you. Like it's definitely gonna try and get past you. But yeah, it comes in at like a little bit of smaller hop and then pushes itself up and is basically trying to jump over your shield to get at Cass and Dusty. So if you'd like to make an attack of opportunity, you may.
Oh, great.
And or trigger your reaction if this is something that happens.
So, just for your sake, my reaction only activates if a friendly within 5 feet of me is hit by an attack.
Great.
So, in this case, I would take the attack of opportunity if I am given that.
Yeah, so basically it's going to move completely past your horse to be on the other side of the horse.
Got
so you would get the opportunity to attack first, and you don't know if it's going to attack or who it's going to attack once it's on
then
the other
side. I will swing at it. That is 15 to hit.
15 will hit.
For 10 damage.
And that is enough to, again, break this shade up. How do you want to take this one out?
So I kind of did the, like, low swoop swing by on the last one, wheeled around. I'm doing some frankly disconcerting acrobatics that I have not done probably in a very long time. We don't normally do this stuff on the horse. It is a thing we have practiced, but was not usually incorporated into our shenanigans. So I think in this case, as it goes to spring, I think if it's trying to use kind of my shield almost like as a launch point or whatever, I just bop the shield up and fully just kind of do that same move of like cleave my sword directly into my shield and just catch it. Like off the top of my shield.
With that nice clang, you're able to kind of shish kebab it in such a way. And again, like the ones before, you were moving quite fast on the other one, but now that this one's coming to you, you can definitely hear that of release as the spirit breaks apart.
Fully start crying again. Had gotten myself together. Tears are like, but like still posted up and like scanning around trying to find the next one in case that comes.
Yeah, wave of emotions. You had that sudden pain. You've defeated 2 of them. You had this weird muscle memory kick in of some showmanship that may have been in your past. And that's going to bring up Dusty, who is quite concerned, but is also very much like on the horse and not in control of it. So just kind of like taking back and forth and like flinching, and that's gonna bring up Cass. There is one shade left in combat with your friend Jules, who's now about 20 feet to your right.
Oh, okay. Easy selection. I will pull out my longbow and fire it at this stupid shade.
Roll to hit.
And I will roll a 10 to hit.
That's gonna hit.
Wow, I did it. Okay. And I will do a wholesome 4 damage.
Beautiful. Nice. Round number. And yeah, this arrow comes sailing in and like definitely sinks in and through, and then you can see the arrow kind of just fall into two halves on the opposite sides of the shade. Not gonna be able to recover it, but it clearly sunk home. And that's gonna bring us back to the top of the order with Jules, unless you have anything else you'd like to do on your turn, sir. Anything else you'd like to do, Nestor?
No, that's it. Sorry.
Cool. No worries. I phrased it in a weird way because I called out the next person and then looped back to you. I'm like, he still has a movement and a bonus action? What do I do?
No. That's it.
Great. I throw it over to HJ. What you got for me? You've got
HJ
one
is
injured
going.
shade.
HJ is gonna run up, claws extended, and just try and swipe it. Do what he does best, and the fight. You know, that's a nat 20.
Do. There it is. That's a crit. That hits.
Yep.
Roll that double damage. Only apply the modifier once.
So that's gonna be 10.
10 damage. Yeah, this one feels good. You definitely do kind of that right. And you know what? This is your 20. How do you want to get rid of this shade?
Yeah, I think just basically HJ just jumps up almost like a perfect dive, and as he is head first down, going down towards the shade, just slashes it. The shade, puff of smoke, sigh of relief, and instant roll recover. Going
nice.
Out of the head first dive.
Yeah, so jump straight up into the air, coming back down, pouncing through it, and just landing where it used to be. Nice little tuck roll, and you're able to kind of turn around. I guess your next goal would probably be your horse that you left behind. So yeah, you're facing your horse, and you're able to kind of just step up and walk on out of that little combat encounter. Walk on over to your horse and saddle up again.
Yeah, and I kind of just like, pat the horse on the head, very thankful that it didn't decide to go run away.
It felt pretty confident that it was in good hands. Saw that you didn't charge it into the battle like that other poor horse that had to run around and almost got attacked by a shade. Ugh.
He's fine. He likes the adrenaline.
Yeah. Did we name your horse, Jules? I know that the other two have names.
My horse
was just Rental for now.
Yeah, Rental.
I don't remember my horse's name.
Yes, it's Rental.
Yeah,
it's Rental, Brutus, and Farrier.
Oh,
and Cass's
yes,
horse is the ugly horse.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Now I remember my horse's name.
HJ just kind of assumes that he is not going to be keeping this horse after he gives it back.
You gotta go all the way back to Daybreak for that.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Sounds good. And you are able to make your way out of the valley that is Griffon's Roost. And as you kind of hit that barrier of those tall, jagged stones that kind of marks the opening to it and the semblance of this edge of a dirt path of a road, the fog doesn't follow you out. It is cloudy overhead, but it is bright. You spent maybe an hour getting in and getting out. You only had to go 100, 200 yards, but between the combat and your experience with another fate, the heartbeat's starting to come down a little bit, both from the combat, seeing your ward get the cure that he needed. He just lets out a big yawn. So what now?
I think we need to get Slate.
Cass
Yes, Mr. Dygrove.
probably stops, on his stops Brutus, the horse, and looks at the other two and very, very calmly. This town will expect justice of this boy. And he'll look at the kid and then look back and say, but I don't think they would expect that justice against the word of a god. We just tell them that God of the grave and the voice of a fate told us that no harm is supposed to come to this boy.
That's
And we can
really
be
true,
free of
though.
this.
I hear what you're saying, and I want to agree, but I don't want to misrepresent what's happened and risk
The fate
thing.
showed us the way to the cure. We could just say that.
Which was his way of telling us that no harm should come to the boy. And he says that with a very a white lie is not going to never hurt anybody kind of tone, and he kind of is nodding while saying it, doing the nod and the head tilt, you hear what I'm saying.
Rowena kind of looks at HJ, looks at Cass. You guys can now see now that she is fully crying, but is trying really hard to stop, and it's just not working. She looks at you, Cass, kind of looks at Dusty again, and then just sort of goes, right, but first, maybe let's make them sweat it a little bit, and let's go get ourselves a night of sleep before we go back. He's out of danger. They don't have to know that yet.
I could certainly use it.
Yeah, I've got a... I've got a place we can go. It's only maybe about a couple of hours from here. Down on the southern side of things.
Cass makes a point of looking at Dusty as he's yawning and kind of grabbing his cheeks, and saying, "This means that you can never do anything like this again. Make sure that importance sticks with you." And then he lets go, and then he turns to Rowena and he says, "Lead the way."
She'll just kind of swipe at the tears and kick up and start heading down the road, and I am heading to the southeastern fields below Bastelin.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's going to be about... These roads don't travel quite as quickly. I'm sure it's going to be another 6 hours. 7 probably even. Your horses are definitely starting to slow down a bit. As you kind of get to that crossroad point again, where it meets back up with the main road that you'll need to follow just a little bit to get where I think you're headed. Can I get another Constitution roll from all of you? It's,
Fuck me, man.
probably about
Jesus.
2 o'clock in the afternoon again. You've all been up for 36 hours.
Does my exhaustion give me disadvantage on
Not saving
yet.
throws yet.
Not saving throws. Okay, skill rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ability checks.
Ability checks.
So,
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, saving throw disadvantage comes at level 3 exhaustion. You were only at level 1.
Quite good.
Or you
Well,
might be
I'm
at
about
2
to get
now.
Level 2. Yeah.
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 Ah,
I am now at level 1.
I got a 6.
I got a 9.
you said a 5?
Yeah.
Great.
Single
That is
digits for
one level of
everyone.
exhaustion more for everyone all around. Except Dusty. He's got a bit of a second wind. I think he's also gotten a little bit better at writing kind of on his way. It's that interesting thing of in this next leg, I think maybe the fate did actually tell you, he didn't hear it, that he does need to be forgiven and he does need to protect it, and maybe there is some sort of entire purpose that he has. Like, you were all chosen by the gods, and you came in and saved him and fixed all of this, and now he's been kind of selected by the god, and his mind's just been racing, and he is too busy and preoccupied to get tired at this point.
I mean, he also just popped a bloodberry. Like,
Yeah.
as far as HJ knows, the high you get on those things is.
I'm so excited to eventually explain the difference between drugs and medicine to HJ.
What? No, they're the same thing.
He knows what medicine is, but he also knows that bloodberry isn't a great drug.
Bloodberries.
That was established last week.
No.
You had idea what
It was soul snake that is a really great hallucinogenic drug.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, you're right. Okay.
But bloodberries are related to soul snakes.
Yeah,
somehow. So, like, it's got to
exactly.
be like the chaser.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride them to the fields, and as we start to approach, I want to do a weird. It's gonna seem weird to them, where I'm gonna take a slightly like circuitous route at one point, kind of cut through some fields. And what I'm doing is I'm basically trying to circle the location that I'm going to before I get there, because I'm doing a scan to see if it looks like anybody is watching this place.
Sure thing. Go ahead and give me a perception check.
That looks great. Is my modifier? Oh, okay. I have an actually okay modifier for this character. That is a 12.
A 12? Yeah, you see a lot of the regular sites. You definitely see your neighbors. You're able to see, various people working in the fields. For the other people that are not from around here, what you're kind of being led through and in between are these more of homestead type parcels of land. They've got various degrees of fences. They've got various cut throughs and things like that. But it's kind of like a cul-de-sac just blown up, and neighbors aren't too close to each other. And as you go past, you can definitely see, someone's tending to lots of fields. The next parcel you get to, there are some horses being raised on a bit smaller of a parcel. And then the next one, a bit bigger, you've got cows being herded. Next one over, you've got some artisans, a field of kind of statues midway progress. Seems to be a couple arguing and then starting one project and then going back to another one. And just, these crafts that require a bit more space, be it for the continuation of this nearby city or be it for the renowned artisan guilds that this city does have. It starts checking off some markers. There's a model bridge being built on one property at like half scale to what it might be one day. And you make your way around, and your normal neighbors are out and about. There doesn't seem to be any postings. There is a new fence, but it's not near your property. And kind of when you do the first pass of your house and get the full 360, it looks pretty undisturbed. Looks like there's a hole in your barn area, and it seems like there's a couple of birds that have nested there, like in the hole with the hay from inside. Your a couple of weeds have popped up in the garden that you left behind, but other than that, seems just like you left it.
Great. I will just ride up. As I get about halfway up to the house, and essentially what you guys would see is there's like a house, and then there is a barn that definitely is not just used as a barn, because you can see like a massive chimney coming out of the back of it. And as I ride up, about halfway up sort of like the drive, you can also see that the entire area around it is fully cleared. Like there's no trees, there's nothing tall, like there is full 360 visibility from the house. It's just kind of dead center in the middle of this wide open area. Halfway up the walk, Rowena will just swing down off of her horse and kind of smack him on the rump, and he just instinctively trots off toward the barn and like starts grazing on some of the grass over there. And she will go up to the door, fish around in her like pockets, pull out a set of keys and unlock the door, pop it open, just kind of wave everybody.
Yeah, you're able to get off your horses, and they kind of do the double take and follow along with the horse that feels like it knows where it's going. You know, the one that rode into combat magnificently. They're very impressed by this other horse now. The horses also have their own story now.
My super impressive,
It's
10-year-old
gonna be,
grumpy horse.
Patreon
Yeah.
content is the horse side mission.
There we go. Yeah, I'll just wave everybody inside and sort of start pointing out, table and chairs. If you want anything to eat, you can check the cupboards. Bed in the back room. Another smaller one up in the loft. We can get a good rest here before we set off again.
Oh yeah, I'm beat. I'll take the loft. I don't mind climbing, and bounce his way up there. And then just as soon as he lays down, you can hear just light snoring, and he's out.
Out.
Anybody need anything?
I'm good.
Right.
Cass is still looking outside for a tree. He's like just looking outside the doors for a tree, kind of just surveying the area, deciding where he's gonna sleep.
Rowena will stick her head out and just be like, we cleared them all years ago to make sure there wasn't a fire risk, but you can sleep on the roof, or I can open up the forge and you can sleep in the loft there. A loft. I know it's not quite the same.
At this point, Cass walks in and says it's not about being outside, and
Understood.
takes off his bag and puts it to just somewhere like in a corner of the room and lays his head down, as though, there's probably a god or goddess somewhere out there you pissed off by cutting down all the trees.
Well,
And then he rolls over and just does the whole single arm under the side of the head under on the bag thing.
she just sort of nods and looks at Jules, kind of points to another more separated area. It's probably half built, half wall, where it's sectioned off, but it's not fully a separate room. There's a big comfy mattress in there if you want to curl up. I'm gonna go check on Arthur. I'll be back in.
Check on who?
And it's at that moment there's just a big clank, clank, clank on the door.
Oh god. Rona fully freezes. All of the color drains out of her face. And she will turn around, hand on her hammer in her belt, and go over to the window next to the door and do kind of the peek lean through the curtains.
The peakling, you can see a very happy Brutus with both of his shields over his wrists, just looming outside of the door. And he gives one more tap on the door, and he calls out, "Duel begins in 10. You have right to first strike, or I'm coming in. I'll be out here."